Hello everyone, welcome to our live Q&A session today for postgrad study. My name is Wale and I'm a student here at Loughborough doing a PhD in IT leadership. And I'm joined today with two special guests. On my left, near left, is Chen, and on my far left is Ella. Chen, do you want to tell me what you study here at Loughborough?
I'm currently doing my final year PhD in chemical engineering, and I also did my master in chemical engineering as well.
Awesome, how's that going?
So far so good. Yeah, last year so quite a lot of pressure, but yeah, I can get through it. Yes.
It's good, it's good. Ella, how about you? What do you study?
So I studied both my undergraduate and my postgraduate masters at Loughborough. So I've just finished my masters in marketing.
Awesome, and I'm going to call you the Queen of Loughborough because
Okay.
it seemed like you know a bit about here.
I'll take that title.
So we've got a number of questions to ask today, to answer today on behalf of everyone listening. So I'm going to start with you, Ella.
Okay.
Why did you choose to study at Loughborough, and what's it like to study here?
So there were two things that I kind of looked at mainly when I was considering universities. Number one was obviously the course. I took a lot of interest in the course, of course, and especially when choosing to do my masters and stay on at Loughborough, I really like the course. And the other thing I considered is kind of the experience that comes with being at university, because that is obviously a big part for a lot of people. And the Loughborough experience is next to none. I've absolutely loved my experience as my undergraduate degree. So it was a no-brainer for me to stay on at Loughborough. Yeah.
And if I go to Chen, and what's your favourite moment in Loughborough so far, based on that experience you mentioned?
I think I don't think I can pick one, but there's always something going on campus,
Yeah.
which is so nice just to walk around. And even if you're just there going on for a lecture, there's always something going on. You can watch a bit of sport, there's things to get involved with. And I love that busy kind of feel about campus, and it makes it feel like a nice little Loughborough family.
Awesome. Chen, so do you recommend living on campus or off campus?
Oh wow, that's a hard question because it really depends your personal preference. So I live off campus for several years with my friend because we got a house together. But I would say there are a lot of friends, they live on campus for the whole duration in Loughborough, so which is quite nice. And on campus, like, you got all the facilities and all the management from the university, which is absolutely brilliant. But off campus, I would be honest, it's a little bit cheaper. So yeah, that's the main thing you have to consider. Yeah.
And how about the commuting? So how far away was it from campus to your home?
It's quite near for me. I just take 10 minutes walking every day to the campus from my house. Loughborough is not that big city thing. It's quite small and peaceful town life thing. So even you live on the town center, you can roughly 15 minutes walk to the campus, or you can take the campus shuttle as well. Yeah, it's definitely good.
Yeah, so like you can either walk, you got the bus, or you can cycle.
Yeah, a lot of options.
Yeah, awesome. So next question. As a postgrad student, and this is for you, Cheng, again.
Okay.
As a postgrad student, how much time do you actually need to spend on campus in your experience?
I think it really depends. Is it your master or your PhD? I mean, I did my master here in Loughborough as well, so I would say in master I spent quite a lot of time on campus when attending lectures, have seminars, or have group study with my group mates, and also do my own work in library or other PC labs. But for PhD, I have to say, except the experiment I have to do in building in labs, I would take like much of the time stay at home doing literature reviews and analyze my data. So it's kind of balance. You make your own choice. So yeah.
And Ella, you doing a degree that does not involve lab work, do you have any different or similar experience to that in terms of how long you spend on campus?
Yeah, so I think it is personal preference, kind of how much you spend on campus. Obviously, your timetable will vary. Some days will be busier than others, so you will be on campus more than others. But for me personally, I really enjoyed studying on campus. There's so many places to study, so many study spaces, and also places to kind of socialise and just spend time with your friends in between lectures. So I would normally come on to campus the start of the day, probably just for my first lecture, and then stay on campus until my last lecture. But it is personal preference. Some people go back and forth in between.
Yeah, I mean, I think you raised the point of having both sides. So either studying, there's lots of spaces to study, either the library or your departments, but also social life as well.
Yeah,
exactly.
A lot of hangout spots with your friends. So sometimes you might get the good vibe of campus for a while, and then move on to town, and then alternate in between.
Yeah.
So you've got those variations. Next question. Probably this is for me actually. How is the university coping with COVID-19 pandemic? Yeah, tough question and not so tough because again we are here, so we've experienced it. Obviously, the COVID-19 pandemic has been tough for everyone, and I think we are running through in a way that I'm actually happy about, personally, because I think it helps that we are one bubble, as we call it, right? So we tend to operate things in a way that we look after each other in a community kind of lifestyle, but also moving on to learning and teaching. Again, I'm doing a PhD, so I'm not really in class, but from what I can tell from students that I engage with, is they've got a mix, right? So you can do face-to-face teaching for some courses, and some people also offer dual delivery, either face-to-face and online at the same time. So I think for a lot of students that I've spoken to, that actually works well for them. And again, you have the option of catching up your lectures if you miss them, for whatever reason that might be. Again, social life, that's also been challenging because again, it's all these bubbles and limitations. I think particularly in the first 2-3 weeks, we got a hint of how the whole committee student, the LSU handle social life. And I think they did a very good job to try and maintain some form of experience with the limiting factor that they were dealing with. So I would say overall, I think we've done well with COVID so far. It's again challenging for the entire world, not just nation. Right. So and I think being able to carry on our learning experience in Loughborough to a degree, despite COVID, it's been quite a great deal to be happy about. So yeah, do you guys have any other thoughts on that?
I may just add my personal experience here because I'm PhD, so doing lab demonstration for first year undergraduate. So this year, we decreased the amount of students for each session. Like for me, previously I always take like 5-6 students at the same time, but now I only take 2, and it's like fully face coverings and goggles, lab coat, gloves. So already PPE for engineering lab. So it's really good, and I have less people in the lab as well.
That's cool. And again, lab work is always a fun activity.
Yeah, it's fun,
I mean, I guess fun coming from a guy who doesn't do lab work. So I can't really say fun. But I'm guessing because it's so hands-on, people would not want to miss out on a face-to-face.
Yeah, and the students really value the lab session. It's like they can actually go into lab and do their own work on the equipment. That's so brilliant thing for them, especially as first-year students.
Awesome. Next question. So our students, I'm going to ask you, Ella, are students able to join any sports clubs on campus regardless of their experience?
Yeah, so there's so many opportunities and so many ways you can get involved in sport no matter what your level is. There's the athletic union, which most people tend to have some experience, but actually there are quite a few sports and clubs that do want people to try it as a new sport. So yeah, there's normally trial processes that are run at the beginning of the year, and if that isn't for you, then there's also IMS, which is basically halls competing against each other. So even if you don't live in your hall, it's great because you can actually affiliate with a hall. So you're still part of that hall experience, and can compete in different sports there. And there's also social leagues through My Lifestyle. So there's loads of ways you can get involved, no matter whether you're the best in the country at your sport or whether you've never played before.
Do you both do any sports at any level?
Yeah, so I play hockey.
Oh, nice.
For with the AU, which I played since I was in my first year at Loughborough. Absolutely love it.
Oh, that's good.
Would really recommend getting involved in clubs to people because there's such a great social through it, and it's also nice to have kind of something else to focus on besides your academics. It's quite nice when you're in exam time and stuff to be able to do something else and kind of get away from it for a bit. So I'd highly recommend it.
Awesome. And how are you, Cheng?
I didn't actually play any sport, but I do get involved in tennis club. I do CVA, so that's coaching and volunteer academies, which offer lots of opportunities for sports volunteer and general volunteer, and they also do like student pathway on coaching and officiating qualification. Like for my personal experience, I do the officiating pathway, so I get my tennis umpire and referee license from the LTA. Yeah,
really,
so that's really cool.
That's cool.
And after that, I just travel up and down through the country, do umpire at the different matches. So yeah, that's really experience. Like, it's really busy for PhD during normal time.
Yeah.
Where Monday to Friday do lab work. So I would say I always spend all my weekend doing matches last year. So yeah,
And
it's
so
really
the
good.
person on the high seats on tennis games who calls the shots. That's you.
That's what I did, and I've been selected for Wimbledon this year. So
Oh wow.
yeah,
That's
it's
good.
really
That's
good thing, and
amazing.
I know someone before me, the previous student, do select for Wimbledon as well. So that's really
awesome.
good thing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And I'm getting your autograph very soon. And I guess the point to raise is, like you guys said, there's lots of levels of sport you can engage with, right?
Yeah,
So
good.
you do an AU level, which is competing against colleges and universities, I'm guessing. And then you can go down there to IMS, like you said, which is inter-hall sports you can do. And then come down to my level, social leagues, just a bit of banter with your friends and colleagues,
same.
and just to form a league. And you have my lifestyle, which is where you can just try different
New
sports
things,
for the
yeah.
first time, right? I mean, I tried netball one time, and good experience, but tough sports.
Yeah, I tried pancake last semester. I can't hit the ball. I don't know. it's tough.
It's tough sometimes, but it was fun. I learned a lot,
Yeah.
right? So if you, regardless of your sports experience, I guess you can always continue that here at Loughborough. And I guess that relates to the next question, which says, can I take up a new sport and continue a sport I've done all my life? And I think you definitely can at Loughborough, because we have loads of sports you can get engaged with. Frisbee, Quidditch, football, all of it. You can do all of that. So that's here.
Yeah.
So now I'm going to ask this to Cheng.
Yeah.
So what tips, actually to you both, so on the master's level, Ella and Cheng on the PhD level, what tips and advice would you give to make your application stand out? So I'll start with you for a master's level.
Okay, so I actually didn't have a lot of experience when I was applying for my master's. I did my undergraduate degree in psychology and my master's in marketing, so there are a few overlaps actually, but generally quite different. But I knew exactly why I wanted to study marketing and what it was that made me want to kind of go in that direction. So for me, without lots of experience in it, it was just about kind of letting my passion for that subject shine through in my application, and in my personal statement kind of explaining what it was that had led to that interest, why I want to pursue it, what I want to do, like once I've studied my master's and everything like that. So I think the best bit of advice for me would be kind of saying why you want to do it, and that because masters is hard work. It's a brilliant achievement to have, and I've really enjoyed my year studying my masters, but you have to want to do it to study it, so really show that kind of in your application.
I really like the fact that you said that you have to want to do it, because I think that's a really, really important factor, because it goes by so quick, right? It's just 1 year, so you have to be all in, and I guess if you show that in your application, it kind of helps you out in how you stand out, right? But how about on a PhD level? What do you think, Cheng?
I would say it's almost the same with Ella. It's show your passion to your potential supervisor, then always like mingling or always contact your supervisor beforehand to show your passion about that specific topic, specific area. Like for myself, I did chem eng both my master and PhD, so it's kind of same area, but for PhD you definitely go through a narrow field of the big chem eng background. So that's why you need to show like you are really interested in that. And as for PhD, you always need to write a proposal for when you apply for your topic. So that proposal can really show your passion and show how much understanding you about your topic. So I think that's a really big point.
Awesome. Next question. What tips and advice? No, actually, I just covered that. My bad. Is it important to have work experience in the area your master's will be in order to make your application stand out? Ella, what do you think?
Well, like I said, I didn't actually have that much experience. I guess it is advantageous to have that experience. And again, it highlights that you enjoy that subject because you've gone out and you've gone and got work experience. But it's not like the end of the world if you don't. It's great, something maybe to look for in the future, to kind of look for work experience. But yeah, it's not. It's helpful, but it's not necessarily needed, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, because in my master's degree, because before my PhD, I did a master's here, and I didn't have much work experience in my master's field, and I think that's where your application comes in. You then write about why you want to go into that area to have some, to stand out. And to be honest, in some cases, some people do masters in a certain area to change career paths. Right, so if you're in a certain degree or background and then you want to change to a different career path and doing a master's in that career path.
Yeah.
You definitely don't have experience there, right? So it's just about highlighting why you want to go in there, and that kind of shows in the application, doesn't it? Next question. Housing. What do you do about housing? Do you wait until your place on course has been confirmed, sign a contract? Okay, let me take this one. So I guess it depends, and I know we hit that it depends phrase, but it kind of depends on this one. In my experience, I'll say that first. In my experience, so I booked my place in Loughborough as early as July, thereabouts. But I knew that when I booked my place in Loughborough, I couldn't get space in halls anymore. Right, so, and again, I'm an international student coming from Nigeria into Loughborough. This was back in 2016. And I just felt, well, it's best for me to get a house when I'm already in England, right? Because I wanted to actually see where I was going to live, right, before picking a place. So a bit of a gamble, if some might say, depends on your personality as well, but I chose to take that gamble. So I got here, thankfully I had some friends in England already, so I stayed around and then came to visit houses when I got here, and then I saw the one I liked and I signed my contract, right? But obviously no everyone has that love visit before you get a contract. You can make use of university's accommodation team to probably help you veto landlords and houses, you know, because I know they have a facility service for that.
They do have
right, so you can use that, and also you can also use networks. So maybe you could look at social media and look for people who might be in your course or might be already here ahead of you and ask for tips. And again, that's why people like us are here as well, giving this kind of tips, right? But I know with the housing thing, it's a bit of a tricky one, particularly as a master's student coming into Loughborough for the first time. Do you guys have any other thoughts on that?
I would actually think you made a really good point about the social media, that if you're coming in and you want to kind of live with people, maybe you've lived in town doing your undergraduate study at a different university, so you want to stay in town, use the social media platforms like the groups with people in your course, because you can like connect with people who are actually got similar interests to you studying the same course, and that is how quite a lot of postgraduate students who are new to the university find houses through those social media platforms. So I think that's a really good point.
Awesome. Next question. Is it recommended to have a master's level qualification before applying for a PhD? Is it possible to go into a PhD without a master's? Cheng, I'll let you start with this one.
I would say it's really, again, your personal preference, but I would say from engineer point of view, if you do your B.Eng as an undergraduate, then master may be a good like transfer period before you apply for a PhD. But if you already done a M.Eng degree for your undergraduate, I would say, well, I don't think there are any more needed for a master, separate master, because for the final year of M.Eng, some courses will be quite almost the same with masters that MSc course. So it really depends. But I would say if you already done an M.Eng, you can just apply for a PhD directly.
And I guess my view from a non-engineering background is, again, it's really up to you. But I think it might help with a master's, to be very honest, because it helped me. So what do I mean? Well, my undergrad transition from undergrad to a master's, what that helped me do was understand the basics and demands of research, which were PhD is about, right? So that gives you a good idea into what research demands, right? Either at your thesis level or just being able to understand information, right? And also masters demands a lot more in terms of critical thinking, writing, and just putting your thoughts down.
Writing will be really good.
Exactly, right? And I guess that's the level where you need to show independence of thought a lot. So I think masters does help you give you a good basis. But I mean, there's definitely stories of people who have done PhDs without masters. Those brilliant people in the world. So I mean, I have a friend like that as well. So it really does depend. But I think having a master's does help. It's never a disadvantage to have hardly ever, in my opinion anyway, to have a master's before doing a PhD. For those reasons. Does anyone disagree with me or agree? Agree. Awesome. Okay. I think the next question kind of relates to it, because the person is asking that. Well, actually, I think we missed that question. So they also asked that, is it possible to go into a PhD without having a master's? And I think that depends on the requirements of the PhD. Right? So if it's a sponsorship, studentship rather, they tend to put the requirements there online and say, well, we require this. Some might say, well, we require a master's. Some might say it doesn't really matter, right? It just depends on your course, right? But if it's a PhD where it's self-funded, that then depends on what your proposal is. Because I think in most cases that self-funded, you tend to find a supervisor first in that area, write a proposal, and then approach them. And if you don't have master's experience, it's up to them to decide whether a proposal is good enough for them to want to take you on as a PhD student. So I think on both boards, if it's studentship, the demands, requirements are already still laid out for you. Whereas if it's self-funded, it's up to you to then pretty much make your idea, stand out to your potential supervisors, right?
Yeah.
So I'm currently a master's student at Loughborough, and I'm planning on doing a PhD afterwards. Do you have any advice on what to expect when I apply for a PhD? Now I'm thinking this question is probably relating to a PhD experience more or less than application. So do you have any advice on what he or she can expect when they apply for a PhD?
I would say, if you like, for myself, I did my master here like you, right? So we stay here for our PhD. So it really depends. If you do want a PhD whenever in Loughborough, already plan to go somewhere else than other university, the vital tips is do it early as you can. Like, as long as you start your master, you can think about your PhD already. You can start to find your course, find your supervisor, and then contact them. I always say contact supervisor first. Even that topic maybe looks really attractive to you, but like after you talk to the supervisor, you may change your mind, to be honest. So yeah, always do it fast. That's the only thing I can say.
I think I agree with you 100% in that, because when you think about it early enough and you're in that environment already as a master's student, you already have the academics around you to negotiate with and discuss with. And you already have access to the tools you need to research and do all those things, right?
Yes.
And again, with a PhD, one thing that everyone says is your supervisors are key to your PhD, right? So finding the right people for your project is also important.
You have to spend 4 years to that.
So
you need to find the right people.
They become almost your new parents or your new bosses. So like you have to find the right match, right? And that takes some planning and that takes some deliberate effort, right? So I think finding the right people is right people, person 1 or 2 or 3 is very important.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think maybe also having a proposal that you think should suit their interests, right? Because believe it or not, supervisors, also academics, who also have their own careers, right? So what you're bringing has to match or in line with what they are also doing in that respect. So you have to think about that as well, definitely. I believe. And I think maybe one last thing in terms of what to expect is, again, doing a proposal or starting a PhD, you're a novice in the academic game, right? So sometimes you might feel like you have to get everything spot on at the start, but don't feel that pressure, I guess, because that's why your potential supervisors are there to point you in the right direction where you may miss out on certain things,
That's why you spent 4 years instead of 1 year on your project. You just do your things and correct them all the way down 3 or 4 years.
It's always like a never ending loop.
It's like a circle every time. You have to do your things, correct it, to do again, correct it. It's just the same direction. But
and it's interesting because I think it also shows the jump from master's to PhD, right? Because as a master's student, you have you're being taught, right? So you still follow some directions. But a PhD, you are pretty much in the pool and have to swim your way to the shore in one way, which is good because you become Michael Phelps in a way, right? But also you have to know that you have to swim hard, right? And that involves having that mindset that you're ready to do that, but it's definitely worth the experience in my experience anyway.
Same. Definitely.
Awesome. So I think we have one final question. What's the one save the best for last. What's the one piece of advice you give to students thinking about coming to study at Loughborough University? Now let me start with Ella on that one.
If I had to give one piece of advice, it would be to throw yourself into everything. So that being both your academics and kind of stuff outside, whether it's the social, whether it's sport, as we spoke about. Really throw yourself into the experience, because you will get so much out of it, and you'll leave Loughborough feeling like you've achieved so much more than just your degree or just your master or just your PhD, because there is so much to get involved with, as we keep saying. So really make the most of the amazing campus and the amazing experience you'll get from Loughborough.
Awesome. And with that answer, I feel like you have more in the locker, so let me make that
okay.
So what's the second piece of advice you give? Because the first one was very, very good.
Thank you. Second piece of advice, I think I'd probably say actually make the most of the facilities you've got on campus. That's in terms of academics. So like I said, I always do my study on campus. So revising for exams, doing any coursework, I will find somewhere on campus. And there's so many different places you can study on campus that you actually do get a bit of a change of scene. You're not always going to the library, you're not always going to your school. There's so many different places. And actually there's so many places that I only discovered in my master's year that I didn't know existed in my undergraduate. So yeah, my advice I think would be to make the most of your time to stay on campus and work. But again, it is personal preference.
Awesome, thanks Ella. How are you, Chang?
I would say she got my words. She got all my words. Yeah, that's the best thing.
Sorry.
Yeah, yeah. Do whatever you can do, hard work in your study and enrich your daily life, whatever sports, social or whatever. And I always say make emphasis to make new friends. That's definitely the same. It's like for me as an international student come from China, it's like not only those Chinese friends you already know in China, but here you lots of experience for knowing new friends. That's definitely something you would like to be during your 3-4 years here in Loughborough. Yeah, definitely. Make new friends.
Honestly, I like that you mentioned friends because I think for me, I made a lot of friends. I have made a lot of friends here, but my master's, I made a lot of good friends in my master's that I'm very close with now. And I think that it helps being in an environment where you're exposed to people from so many parts of the world, right? And in place where I think the only way you can get that kind of exposure in most cases is in university like this. Right, because in the work setting is hardly ever expose people that often, that quickly, to that large extent. Right, so I think I agree with that point as well in terms of making friends. I also think, okay, actually, here's my one piece of advice. Let me just say that right now. So I think, from my experience, it helped me that I was very open-minded when I came here. So when I got Loughborough, I made a deliberate effort to forget everything I thought I knew, right, and come here and learn as a novice again, and that exposed me to a lot of things that I thought, actually I never thought about this before, and that was actually a good learning experience for me because that gives you a lot more repertoire in terms of what knowledge and skills, right, and also when you're open-minded, you also try new things, right, so like you try things that you probably wouldn't have tried either during your previous work, previous school, right, whatever it is, and all of those things help you know what you like and don't like as you grow up in this world called life, right? Because for example, I never thought in my life I would DJ, right? And I got to do that do that here, right? And it's something that I just tried as a hobby, and I got into it. So, and that was something I did alongside my academic work, and I think, as you said as well, it doesn't mean it's either or. Right, because you can always have the best of both worlds.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, and I think that's the beautiful thing about Loughborough, because you can work hard and also get a good level of reward for that in social life and interests as well. So yeah, I think you guys actually hit the nail on the head many times. So yeah, thanks for that. I think that brings us to the end of our questions. Thanks to everyone who's kept in touch and for watching. Now I'm going to take you straight to Rob and Ellie, who are at our London campus, who are waiting for you. And that's all from us at Loughborough Family. And now we're going to hand you over to Rob and Ellie in London for your next Q&A session. Take care. Bye.
Hi there. So if you'd like to introduce yourself, where you're from and the programme that you study, that'd be great.
Yes, I'm Ellie Sloper. I'm originally from Surrey and I am doing Design Innovation Management.
Fantastic. So why exactly did you choose Loughborough University London?
So I completed my bachelor's degree at the Loughborough Midlands site and I absolutely loved my time there. I wanted to continue my studies. I looked at some other universities, but I thought that the Loughborough experience could be continued back in the London site. So that's why I chose to do a master's here.
Fantastic. So what would you say you've enjoyed the most about your studies so far?
What I've enjoyed the most so far is the different cultures that I've experienced. Even in my first seminar, actually discussing with people who have such different experiences to me. I was very privileged. I went to a private school, very similar people in that instances, and then my course at Loughborough University was I hang out with my group of females, and so it was really nice to interact with other people from different backgrounds.
Definitely. So sort of talking about the campus, how would you describe the London campus?
Very modern. It's really nice to have little eateries around the place to go get your lunch. Lots of facilities to be able to space out and do your work, as well as easy access to people that you need to talk to help you out.
Definitely. So outside of your studies, what sort of things are you interested in?
Yeah, so I played field hockey for the university up in the Midlands, and now I am playing for a local club, and then I also help out with the coaching there. So yeah, mostly on a hockey pitch when not here.
Brilliant. So we're in London. How would you describe the best ways to make friends in London?
Best ways to make friends are ask questions and be engaging with people. It might be scary at first to sort of say, hi, how are you? What are you up to? But I think that's the best way in seminars, to just sort of interact with people.
Definitely. So in terms of accommodation, what accommodation have you chosen and how did you find it?
So I am currently living at home with my parents. I found it through them, obviously. But yeah, that was more of a money-saving move for me. I travel in each day from Surbiton. It takes about an hour, but it's quite nice to have that kind of time to myself and just do a bit of reading or maybe catching up on a few bits and bobs on my journey in.
Definitely. So we've talked about social side in London. How do you find studying in London as a place?
Studying in London is really quite cool. Not only is obviously the lectures and stuff interesting, but also they have lots of options to get involved with different companies and things outside of your studies. So I've attended a few careers fairs where there have been companies, obviously locally to the London site, pitching in and telling you about their grad schemes and opportunities with them. So I think the opportunities outside of studying is the best thing about working in London.
And finally, do you have any advice for prospective students?
Go for it, probably. The Loughborough attitude, from my experience, is very much outgoing, be smiley and be approachable. So come and enjoy it and smile.
Fantastic.
So would you like to introduce yourself, where you're from and what you're studying?
Yeah, so my name is Rob. I'm from Buckinghamshire, just outside of London, and I'm studying sport business and leadership at Loughborough London.
Lovely. So why did you choose Loughborough London?
Well, I think Loughborough London is a campus which is relatively unknown, but I think that's something that makes it super special. It's a place where you have so many different options in terms of studying degrees and programs that might not necessarily be on offer elsewhere. But overall, I just felt like there was a really welcoming family feel and that I would feel right at home.
Cool. What have you enjoyed most so far about your studies?
So far I've really enjoyed engaging with the lecture material, but also engaging with discussions with my fellow students, bouncing ideas off of each other and just generally sort of sharing our passion for the subject with one another.
Yeah. What is the Loughborough campus like? Well, London campus like?
So the Loughborough London campus it's very modern, it's very airy, there's lots of space for you to just sort of pick and choose which activities you want to do. But I think it's really nice that everyone here is really friendly, all the members of staff are very welcoming, and yeah, it's just a wonderful place to come and study.
Brilliant. What do you do outside of your studies? Any extracurricular activities?
So, seeing as I'm studying a sport business and leadership course, I'm big into my sports, so I like playing football and golf, and then I also like watching sports as well. So I'm a Watford fan, and when I can make it to games, I like to go and try and cheer them on as best as I can.
In your opinion, what's the best ways to make friends in London?
I think the main thing I'd just say about making friends in general, whether in London or elsewhere, is just saying yes to things. And I think in London there are so many different opportunities to explore your passions and explore new passions that I think using London as a city, but also making the most of the opportunities that Loughborough London allow for their students to make the most of, is the best way to meet like-minded people and just get stuck in.
Yeah, definitely. So what accommodation are you staying in currently, and how did you find it?
So I'm staying in private accommodation just on my own. This was something that I just found on the property market in the weeks leading up to the start of term. My family live outside of London, so I know London reasonably well, but yeah, I just found that as a private landlord.
And how did you find studying in London?
I think studying in London is something that is very specific to London in terms of the culture of London is so diverse, it's unlike any other city, but also it gives you a lot of freedom to be independent, be yourself, and as I said, make the most of the opportunities available to you and be able to explore a wonderful city in your free time.
Yeah. Any advice for prospective students?
I think the main thing I would say is make the most of any opportunities you get to engage with the academic staff leading up to you applying. And so I know from my perspective that coming to open days, webinars, reading up on material online was really what made my decision so easy. So I'd I'd recommend people to do the same.
Bro, thank you.